الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على عبده ورسوله الأمين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas, may Allah be pleased with him, went once to Umar ibn al-Khattab. He complained to Umar ibn al-Khattab by telling him, has anything happened in Islam? And he repeated that twice or three times. Has anything happened in Islam? So Umar said, no, not that I know of. Why are you asking? He said, I met your brother, Uthman ibn Affan, and he came in the opposite direction. I said, Assalamu alaikum. I greeted him. He stared at me and stared at me well and did not reply. And he walked by me. Of course, Umar ibn Khattab, may Allah be pleased with him, as the Caliph of the Muslims and one of the 10 that the Prophet ﷺ gave the glad tidings to, that they are in paradise, wanted to resolve the problem. So he called Uthman to come to his majlis, to his gathering. And Uthman walked in. So immediately Umar asked him, Uthman, why didn't you reply the salam of your brother Saad? He says that he met you on the road, you stared at him, and he gave you salam, you didn't answer him back. So Uthman said, he did not. Saad was outraged. He said, I did. Uthman said, you did not. Saad said, I did. And then, all of a sudden, Uthman remembered. He said, yes, I seek Allah's forgiveness. May Allah forgive me. You're right. But when I met you, I was so engaged mentally, trying to remember the first dua that the Prophet ﷺ taught us, and I cannot remember it. For one reason or the other, I just can't click it. Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas, may Allah be pleased with him, told Uthman, I'll tell you this dua. Once we were with the Prophet ﷺ in the masjid, and he was telling us that the first supplication, the first dua, was of Dhinnun, and he is Jonah, Prophet Jonah. And before the Prophet ﷺ completed his statement, a nomad came. A man, a Bedouin came, and he asked something from the Prophet ﷺ, and the Prophet was engaged in answering him back, and he forgot. So after he finished, he walked out, going out of the masjid, of the mosque. When I followed him, Sa'd says, I followed the Prophet ﷺ. And when I was afraid that he's going to enter his house, which was adjacent to the mosque, I struck the floor with my foot to bring his attention. And the Prophet looked behind him and said, who's this? Is this Abu Ishaq? And this is the nickname of Sa'd. So Sa'd said, yes, O Prophet of Allah. He told him, what do you want? He said, O Prophet of Allah, you were talking to us, you were teaching us the first supplication of Prophet Jonah before this Bedouin came and asked you, and you did not complete or continue your teachings to us. So I just wanted to remind you. As the Prophet said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, yes, Dhinnun, or Jonah, supplication, when he was in the belly or the stomach of the whale, was La ilaha illa anta subhanak inni kuntu min al-zalimin. There is no God worthy of being worshipped except you. Glorify you, O Allah. I admit that I was wrong to myself. The Prophet tells us, alayhi salam, no Muslim prays and supplicates with this supplication. Allah Azza wa Jal, whenever he does this, he will answer his prayer. La ilaha illa ant subhanak inni كنت من الظالمين. Now, if we analyze this short and beautiful story, we will find that there are lots and lots of benefits we can get out of it. First of all, this story has 3 heroes. And all of these 3 heroes were given the glad tidings from the Prophet ﷺ that they are in paradise. They are the 10 companions of the Prophet ﷺ in paradise. And if you ask a lot of the Muslims nowadays to name them, they would fail. But if you ask a lot of the Muslims nowadays about the latest top 10 songs on the chart, they'll tell you. If you ask them about the most box office winner movie, they'll tell you. If you ask them about the names of the football players in the Brazilian team, they'll name them. But when it comes to the companions of the Prophet ﷺ, who cares? If it comes to the battles of the Prophet ﷺ, the biography of the Prophet ﷺ, Muslims are ignorant. They neglect to learn their history. And that is why Muslims don't have a future and they don't have a present. Because they have turned their back to their past and history. The Prophet ﷺ said, Abu Bakr is in heaven, in paradise. Umar in paradise. Uthman in paradise. Ali in paradise. Abu Ubaidah, Amir ibn al-Jarrah is in paradise. Abdul Rahman ibn Auf is in paradise. Saad ibn Abi Waqqas, one of them, is in paradise. Talha ibn Ubaidillah is in paradise. Az-Zubayr ibn al-Awwam is in paradise. And Sa'id ibn Zayd ibn Amr ibn Nufayl is in paradise. And he's the narrator of this hadith. Sa'id ibn Zayd, the brother-in-law of Umar ibn Khattab. If you go into their life story, you will find events that will blow your mind away. They are the best humans ever walked on earth after the prophets and messengers of Allah the Almighty. May Allah be pleased with them. May Allah make us join them in paradise. Uthman ibn Affan, he is the 3rd caliph. And he was the son-in-law of the Prophet ﷺ, as he married 2 of his daughters. When the first one died, he married the second one. And when she died, the Prophet said, by Allah, if I had the 3rd daughter, I would give it to Uthman in marriage. So he had 2 of the Prophet's daughters, while Ali had 1. And whoever talks bad about Uthman, he is talking bad about the Prophet ﷺ, who trusted him and who loved him and who gave him 2 of his daughters in marriage. Umar ibn Khattab is the 2nd caliph, and we know that he was the father-in-law of the Prophet ﷺ, in the sense that his daughter Hafsa was the Prophet's wife. Abu Bakr also was the same status. He was the 1st caliph, and his daughter Aisha was the wife of the Prophet ﷺ. Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas, may Allah be pleased with him, was also known as Sa'd ibn Malik. So if you read the name, don't be confused. Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas or Sa'd ibn Malik is the same person. This man was among the very first to accept Islam. And he talks about himself that I was the 3rd of Islam. There were only 3 people as Muslims in one narrations. He suffered a lot. He migrated with the Prophet ﷺ, and he became one of the rich companions of the Prophet ﷺ. He was known to be answered by Allah Azza wa Jal whenever he raised his hands in supplication. So that's why the companions were afraid whenever he said, I will pray to Allah. They will say, okay, that's enough. Because if he does pray, Allah will answer and accept his prayer, and the thing that he wants would come immediately. Met Uthman on the road. He, as any Muslim would say, Assalamu alaikum. And what benefit does this have? Well, the Prophet says, ﷺ, that you will never enter paradise until you believe. And you will never believe until you become strongly associated together and have this emotion and love among you. Shall I tell you, the Prophet says, shall I tell you something that if you do it, this love and strong attachment would increase among you? Spread assalamu alaikum. Spread the word of peace among you. So that is why whenever a Muslim meets another Muslim, he would say assalamu alaikum, even if he does not know him, even if he does not relate to him. But they always put in the back of the mind, the minute I say assalamu alaikum, I will be granted 20 good deeds. If I say assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, 30. If I say assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh, it's 40. It's a lot of good deeds. Saad, by default, saw Uthman, said assalamu alaikum. He's an immigrant like me from Mecca to Medina. He is one of among the first to accept Islam like me. He's my brother. He's more important to me than my blood and flesh. Yet Uthman stared at him and did not answer back. Saad was outraged in the sense that this was a form of insult. Now, usually, something like this happens to us, we would do something that we would regret later on. Not Saad. Not with his brother Uthman. Look at what Saad did. First of all, he thought well of his brother and tried to give him a proper excuse. Why is that? Because a lot of the problems we have nowadays are due to the fact that we do not give any form of excuse to our brothers and sisters. And that's why tension is built and a lot of problems and grudges take place. Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas immediately went to Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, to complain and see maybe there is a reason behind Uthman neglecting him. And this is what we should do. Muslims should always seek an excuse for their brothers and sisters. Because you never know. Maybe he had an excuse that you do not know. Maybe he had a reason for something you did not like and he had to do this. What are such an excuses can be? This inshallah what we will know just after the break. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How many times do we have problems between our loved ones, between us and our friends, that continue to escalate as a burning brush fire? The only way that we can have our hearts pure and clean to one another is through giving our loved ones and those who we have dispute with the benefit of the doubt. And this is exactly what Saad did. He went to Umar. He did not accuse Uthman immediately by saying, did you see what your brother did? He did this and that. He is ignorant. He is arrogant. I don't like him. I have to fight with him. Tell him I'm not going to speak with him after today. No. Saad went first to make sure that nothing in Islam has changed, in the sense that there was not an army of the Muslims defeated and there's no crisis that had struck a Muslim country, no famine, floodings, earthquakes, nothing. So he went to Umar. Anything happened in Islam? If anything did happen, Umar would have told him yes. But on the contrary, Umar said, no, not that I am aware of, nothing happened. Why? Then Saad justified that question by saying, this is what happened with Uthman. Now Umar, as you being our ruler and leader and imam, please help me solve this issue. Why did Uthman behave in such a manner? Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, did not put a lid on it, as a lot of people do. And so many times we hear people say that time is sufficient to make things go back normally. And this is wrong. Time is not sufficient. On the contrary, the more you ignore such a problem, the more fuel Satan will add to the fire, and the more assistance he will get from his soldiers, the devils, have them be from jinn or from humans. They will come and whisper in your ears. He did not ignore you because he doesn't like you. He doesn't respect you. He thinks badly of you. I heard him talk about you the other day. And this grows and grows, and the enmity and hatred gets more and more in your heart against that brother of yours. Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, did not put a lid on it. On the contrary, he immediately brought Uthman to be present in front of him, so that they can solve and resolve this issue now and forever. And Umar did a very noble thing. He is trying to reconcile between two of his brothers. And the Prophet tells us, alayhi salatu wasalam, that among the best deeds available is to reconcile between the two. And among the worst deeds in Islam is when you divide and separate Muslims. And that is why the Prophet ﷺ tells us that a person who walks between two others, trying to divide them, separate them, and to throw enmity and hatred in their hearts against each other, will not enter paradise. The Prophet called him as Nammam or Qattat. He's worse than a backbiter because he tells things that are not true with the intention of throwing enmity and hatred in their hearts. Likewise, the Prophet ﷺ tells us that whoever goes to a woman and turn her against her husband is not among us. And you can imagine how many mothers going to their daughters and telling them, why are you tolerating your husband? Why don't you demand that he buys you new furniture, that he takes you places, that he buys you a house of your own and registers it in your name? So the poor husband comes back home and he finds that his wife has turned against him. She's nagging, she's making his life miserable. This mother is not following the Prophet ﷺ, is not considered to be among the followers of the Prophet ﷺ. So Umar was doing a great job, may Allah be pleased with him. He brought Uthman and asked him, Uthman, why did you do what you have done? He said, I didn't. Saad didn't say, Assalamu alaikum. Saad said, yes, I did. Uthman said, by Allah you didn't. He swore. And Saad swore, Wallahi I did. By Allah I did. And this tells us that if you swear on something and you think that it is right, then there's no sin on you. For example, somebody tells me, give me a pen. And I say, I don't have one. He said, yes you do. I said, Wallahi, by Allah, I don't have a pen. And seriously, I think that I do not have a pen, because what I remember that I left my pen at my house, but apparently I took it by mistake and put it without noticing. So I'm swearing on something that I entirely believe is true. Then there is nothing wrong in that. There's no burden, there's no sin in that, insha'Allah. Of course, a lot of the brothers and sisters think that kafara, expiation for swearing, is for the things that you've done in the past. If someone tells me, did you have lunch? I say, by Allah, I did not have lunch. And I'm lying. They say, you've lied, so you have to pay an expiation. No, this is not the case. If you swear on something that took place in the past, there's no expiation. But if you say that you will do something or you won't do something in the future, and then you change your mind, you do it or you don't do it, then there is an expiation. If I say, by Allah, I'm not going tomorrow to my brother's house, and then I change my mind, I find that he's throwing a party and I'm hungry, I want to eat. Yeah, I have to go. You go, but you have to pay the expiation. And this is not our subject, of course. So, Uthman remembered. And he said, oh yes, now I remember. The thing that was bothering me, that was making me blind, was that supplication that I could not remember. Saad told him that supplication. But before he told him that supplication, imagine the thing that was engaging Uthman's mind. He was not worried about the millions he has, the millions that he has in Syria or in the north or south of Arabia in trade. He was a billionaire. He was the richest companion of the Prophet ﷺ. He was not worried about his farms and his slaves. No. He was worried about supplication, something that draws him closer to Allah. The same thing exactly happened with our Prophet ﷺ. And this is reported in the Sahih. Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, told the Prophet ﷺ, what was the toughest moment you've ever faced from your people? He said, when I came from Taif after trying to call them to Islam and they refused. I walked without noticing and I ended up in a place called Qarn al-Tha'alib. It's a long walk, 6 or 7 hours. He wasn't there, the Prophet. He was just walking because he was so busy and engaged in thinking about those who refused his call. Allah Azza wa Jal sent the Archangel Gabriel and he told him, Muhammad, this is the angel of the mountains. And the angel of the mountains said, Prophet of Allah, if you wish, I could collapse the 2 mountains and kill and annihilate all of them. The Prophet said, no, I pray to Allah that He might guide their children and their children would, their offspring would become Muslims worshipping Allah alone. Sa'ad ibn Abi Waqqas told Uthman about this hadith because he would not let the Prophet leave without learning from him. So he acquired the hadith, he gave the supplication to Uthman, whoever says, La ilaha illa anta subhanaka inni kuntu min al-zalimin, Allah the Almighty will answer his prayer. Because you are showing, when you're praying and supplicating to Allah, that you are weak, that you have wronged yourself, that you have transgressed against Allah the Almighty, and that is why you will be answered by Allah. Your prayer will be answered. La ilaha illallah. You admit that there is no God worthy of being worshipped except Allah. And that He alone, the Almighty, can answer your prayer. And you glorify Him by saying Subhanak. And you admit being wrong to yourself, wrong to your Lord. Doing this, Allah the Almighty will answer your prayer. Brothers and sisters, look what Sa'ad did. Look how Umar resolved this situation, and look how Uthman reacted and what caused all of this. And compare this to our lives, to our loved ones, to the problems that we have among our relatives, among our loved ones, for reasons that are so silly. If we sit on one table, we will resolve all of our differences in less than 5 minutes. Until we meet next time, fi amanillah, wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.